have the Ayatollah of fantasy rock and roller with us today, Adam Rank. How you doing, Rank?
They look great in person, and I just can't wait till next year we can pack it full of 25,000.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I didn't know it was Ball Guys Day. It was being ranked. I mean, how can you lose?
This is the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast.
Hi, do you have a second? Welcome to the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast. This is episode 90 or 91. I'm not too sure. I should really write that on the show sheet one of these times. But week one is upon us. We've got Thursday night football coming to you tomorrow night. We're going to talk about that game and every game on week one slate. So without further ado, Calvin, I'm going to send this over to you. We're going to go around the horn real quick before we break into some news and notes.
I'm so excited about football starting tomorrow. I got my first Scott Fish Bowl waiver run that happened today. I'm excited. You know, we're not going to talk too much about that, but I'm excited about the season, man. There's so many cool things, so many cool new things just for me personally doing this show. There's a lot of really cool things I'm excited about over the next few months. So, yeah, let's get this kicked off and talk about some football.
Tara, what do you got for us for football here?
Do we want to go ahead and jump into the games, or did you want to head and or
No, for you. What are you looking forward here this week? What we've got? You got some plans going on, a little bit of maybe some Houston Texans jerseys you're going to throw on for a little tailgating?
No, I won't go that far. No, I'm really excited. I'm really excited since this is my first NFL season with you guys, so I am pumped to see how that goes. Like Calvin, I did some little waiver wire stuff as well. I'm curious to know who he got off the waivers. I got Juwan Johnson and Scott Fish. Yeah, So I thought Cal would like that.
I like that.
Having to get a little creative at tight end. So but otherwise,
Barry got him too. He's kind of good at this whole fantasy football thing.
God, I must be a genius.
Well, we've waited long enough. It's funny. We've been doing this ViperCast show now since January, but now we've got some real football to talk to. Major, what are you excited for?
I'm excited just to be in my underwears on the couch and watching games. That's what I want to do more than anything in life. A cold beer, maybe a cigar, just relax.
Spoken like a true guy with all his kids out of his house now.
I was going to say, my kids would judge me. They would judge me so bad.
But I got to go around the horn here. We just talked about Scott Fish Bowl. Calvin, how much money did you spend on your fob here today?
Almost nothing. I spent $1 on Randall Cobb. I spent $1 on Quez Watkins. I got both of them, and I was excited about both those additions. So,
what Juwan Johnson cost you there, Tara?
$2 maybe. Yeah, I got Juwan. I was hedging my bets. I got Juwan Johnson and Tyler Kroft. I'm trying to really, go for the hopeful upside there at tight end position since I punted as I usually do. So, you got to make up for it. Didn't spend too much.
I like it.
Major, did you get into the waiver wire action?
Nah, I just drafted really well, so I didn't really need to reach back into the waiver wire. Sorry to say, guys.
I love it.
little humble brag there.
Yeah.
So apparently, every year in the Scott Fish, I very rarely use my fob, and I sat there and I dropped 70 today on Marquez Callaway and Nico Collins. And I'll give you a hint. I didn't spend a dime on Nico Collins. So just going to put you in perspective what I did. Jim sold me on Nico Collins there. We had him on the show here on Monday. I was like, you know what? I love Nico. I did a little bit more of a deep dive on him. You're going to hear about him a little bit later. But first, before we get to the games, let's get into some quick news and notes, some little rapid fire here. Calvin, is there anything to make of Trevor Lawrence being named by his teammates as a captain and Tua not being named captain?
Nothing to it. Next. Who cares?
Tara.
Next.
Duke Johnson signs the practice squad for the Jaguars.
No, I don't think it's really going to make a big difference. Although good for him, though. Good for him.
Major, Le'Veon Bell, practice squad, Baltimore. They also grabbed Trenton Cannon to their 53-man squad.
Nothing there. I think they're both kind of washed, so I'm gonna have to stick with was it Tyshawn Williamson or Williams? I forgot his
Tyson
name.
Williams.
There you go. Yeah, let's stick with him. He's gonna be the good backup.
Okay, Calvin, Carson Wentz, full practice on Wednesday. How's he looking for week 1? You gonna put him in your QB2 area?
I'm so excited to see what excuses he's going to come up with when he flops this year.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Ooh, we're choosing violence today. Tara, Austin Eckler did not participate this afternoon in practice. Is this with that hamstring injury? Is this something we need to be concerned about?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we had the same thing happen with Chris Godwin, and I don't know if it was a knee or something, but the other day where he sat out of practice, and he's fine today. So, I mean, we're just getting into that part of the NFL season where, if this is preseason and they're sitting and you're like, oh, wait a second, they're missing practice then. But now they're just, making sure that everything's okay right before game time.
And then lastly, over to you, Major. Ramondre Stevenson, wonky finger. Is that going to play effect at all this weekend?
Not at all. That is my rookie of the year. That's my favorite player in the draft. This guy is going to be a monster.
There you have it. Nothing to worry about in the news and notes today as we head into week 1. Everything's kind of ready to roll. We're standard. We're ready. Everything's pumped. Before we get into the games, just a heads up. This is the ViperCast powered by Fantasy Points Media Group. We're coming at you live right now. And if you have questions, please hit us up. We'll answer those questions live on the air. Get as many in as possible. We're going to rip through every game on this slate in about Chris Berman-esque fastest 3 minutes. Maybe even drop a few Blues Clues along the way while we're at it. So without further ado, see what I did? Blues Clues, further ado. We're kind of rhyming here a little bit. That's how we roll.
Good.
We're going to head over to Tara. We're going to head to Thursday Night Football. We're going to talk Dallas Cowboys, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The floor is yours.
I'll try to be quick because I know I'm a little long-winded at times. But I'll start off with some of the easy plays. I guess I got the easiest game because everybody in this game is a legitimate play. Obviously, you're starting Dak and CD and Amari if he's healthy. It sounds like he's getting that solved. The little injury that he had during preseason. Zeke as well. You're not going to fade your RB. If you drafted Zeke, he's your RB1. You're not going to fade him because offensive lineman is out. Then you head over to the other side, Brady, Brown, Evans, Godwin. Again, I just mentioned that he's back and fully practicing. So good to go, apparently. Hopefully not a concern. The only real players that I'm really fading in this, obviously watch out for the Tampa Bay running backs. Honestly, we don't really know what Bruce Arians is going to do. It's hard to predict it. So if you can stay away from it, I'm assuming that no one drafted them as hopefully an RB1 or 2. So, go with another option and, something to keep in mind in terms of a sleeper. Watch out for what's going to happen with OJ Howard. I know everyone is obviously prioritizing Gronk on that end, but there's been a lot of positive talk coming out about him. So just keep an eye out.
Well, and maybe the guy who's given the biggest endorsement deal there for him is Tom Brady. He just said today that OJ Howard's going to have a big year. A little buyer beware on the Dak Prescott thing. Yes, you're going to start him. We know we're going to start him. He's a top 5 quarterback in this league. Zach Martin, he's out with the COVID protocols. Lyle Collins, he's questionable for this game. Dak's coming back from an ankle injury and that dislocated shoulder thing he's been battling all year. And we've seen what Tampa Bay did to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. So temper those expectations when we're talking about Dak. But you're starting him. There's no doubt about it.
For sure.
Major, we're going to head to Pittsburgh at Buffalo. What do you got for us?
Oh, this is going to be probably the game of the week. You got really 2 awesome defenses going against each other, high-power offenses going against each other. So, it's going to be a really good game. Players to keep an eye on. Big Ben, first half of the season, he's going to be on fire. I'm kind of fading him towards mid to late season just because of age and the arm. And Josh Allen, to me, is – in the preseason, he looked like he was geared up to be the MVP. Like, this guy's ready to go. He's running on all cylinders. Some people to kind of beware of is the Buffalo backfield. Singletary and Moss don't excite me at all. I do like Moss a little bit, but I'm fading both of those guys, especially against that Pittsburgh defense. Let's see, a player to we're doing here? Sleeper. Yeah, my sleeper is going to be Gabriel Davis. This guy is he popped a little bit last year, but I think he's going to have a big year this year. He's coming out he's like maybe the third receiver on the team right now, so he's going to fall under the radar a little bit, and then you're going to get some big numbers out of that guy.
I like that Gabriel Davis throw in there because we don't know what that wide receiver 2 situation is going to look like. You got Cole Beasley, who knows how much time he misses throughout the season with everything off the field that's been going on there. You got Emmanuel Sanders coming over from the Saints, who did a very good job filling in for Michael Thomas last year when Michael Thomas went down. And then you got Gabriel Davis, who is a big-time threat in the end zone. And like you say, with the running backs, we don't know how that's going to perform. Maybe Matt Breida is the best running back of the 3, and that's kind of where we're at with that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, stay away from the Buffalo Bills backfield, at least for now. Calvin, you got the next matchup here. We got Arizona at Tennessee.
Fireworks. This is potentially a huge fantasy game that you want a piece of right here. The game that has the highest point total in Vegas is coming up later. This one's really close, though. A half point behind, 52 points for the total. Look, Tannehill is an automatic start. Get him in your lineup. Malcolm Butler he's not going to make the game for a week. He retired. The secondary for Arizona is not going to be good. That's their point of weakness. Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, just fire those guys up. Kyler on the other side, Kyler, Hopkins. I mean, Tennessee certainly is not the kind of team that is going to be able to match points, in my opinion, or they're not going to be able to stop them from running their up-tempo offense, getting the ball out of Kyler's hand fast, which they want to do. Kyler's going to be deadly on the ground again. I'm excited to watch this one because I think there's going to be a lot of points. The tougher decisions to me are the running backs because you want to start running backs going against Tennessee. Chase, Connor, which one are you firing up? If it's me, I want Chase because at least I feel like he's got the reception floor so that like the floor is not going to completely fall out. Connor could end up not doing a lot for you. I think he's got the lowest floor of those 2 running backs, so it's Chase for me. But if you're desperate, I don't mind throwing in James Conner. Anthony Ferguson didn't have the preseason that you want, but I wouldn't mind throwing him in, on a, if you're desperate at the position. And then, get ahead and maybe stash Benjamin in your dynasty leagues just in case something happens there and he gets a little bit of work. Because when he's gotten work, he's looked pretty good.
Well, Anthony Ferguson was a regular on 30 for 30 there. Tera, well, what's your opinion here on Ferguson? Can he make a difference right away week 1?
If there's a game for him to make a difference, it's probably against Arizona. Like Cal said, I expect a huge amount of points out of it. And while I'm not going to be putting him in any starting lineups, but this will be a good game for you to watch him and kind of gauge his involvement in there, how much he maybe contributes in the red zone, see if he takes over, because that's where Johnny Smith really thrived last year, was those red zone contributions. I think he had 8 touchdowns. So that's something to see if he can pick up a little bit on that and then gauge your way after that.
I like that. And then I like how Calvin kind of mentioned that James Conner is not a terrible play if you have to play a running back, depending on your situation. Chase Edmonds, same thing. This is kind of one of those things. Are you in a PPR league or are you in a standard league? In a PPR league, I don't think James Conner is going to give you that value. But in a standard league, I think he could fall into the end zone. I really don't know if they're going to use Chase Edmonds as that goal line back. That's going to be something interesting to watch there as well. Mm-hmm. Now, Calvin, what did you say about Zach Wilson? You got your first share of Zach Wilson. You made a trade. What was your comment regarding Zach Wilson time?
Well, it wasn't my first share, and hopefully it's not my last, but I did get one under the gun right before the season started that I was able to get. I was able to get him on a team where I desperately, until Justin Fields starts, I don't have a viable QB2. I think he ends up being that, and he's a garbage time king.
And you know what? In fantasy football, just like hockey, they don't ask you how, they ask you how many. And that's kind of where Zach Wilson's going to fall into. And that's kind of where a lot of these players in this matchup between the Jets and the Panthers are going to fall into that category. And off the get-go, I'm you know what? Sam Darnold, Robbie Anderson, you got Shorty from Scary Movie, you got Peter Venkman from Ghostbusters. They're getting together. They're going to hook up. We're going to go all out in this matchup. I think you're going to see some fireworks. I'm getting in. I am comfortable with Sam Darnold as my QB2, not overall, but as a QB2 this week, I think he's got you some huge upside against a Jets defense that was the third friendliest in 2020 for quarterbacks. Like, there's going to be opportunity. So what does that mean? That means DJ Moore is going to have good, solid wide receiver 2 numbers. I think Robbie Anderson's going to flirt with wide receiver 1 numbers this week because it's a revenge game. And we all know what revenge does. It's a dish best served cold. And I think it's going to be fun there watching this game all the way through. What else do we got here for this game? Corey Davis, I think you fire him in as a wide receiver 2, definitely as a flex option. I think especially PPR, the targets are going to be there. The ball's going to be thrown to him a lot. We've seen in the preseason, the perimeter is where Zach Wilson's been attacking. It's been Corey Davis the whole time there. For me, a guy I'm definitely watching here, a guy I'm not quite sure if I want to get in my lineup or not. Maybe comes down to like we talked about with James Conner and Chase Edmonds. I think Terrace Marshall is a better standard play than he would be in a PPR. I think there's a very good chance that he falls into the end zone, catches a pass there on the 2-yard line, or goes up over top of someone. We look at this. How's this field going to play? CMC, Robbie Anderson. I mentioned the guy's name a little bit earlier. DJ Moore. How are these guys all going to coexist? How's the ball going to get spread out? That's kind of what I watch. But I think when it comes down to it, the red zone guy, that end zone guy is going to be Terrace Marshall. And then the guy we're going back to 30 Tera's 30 players in 30 days with a kind of a sleeper play here. I'm going to give a little hat tip to Tera here. I'm going to go with Keelan Cole as a sleeper here in this game for the Jets because, as bad as the Jets are against the pass, the Panthers aren't much better. Now, they should have sheared that up there a little bit with J.C. Horn through the draft. They got Dante Johnson, who was victimized many times last year. But in 3 wide receiver sets, Cole should be on the field. Sorry, Denzel Mims, it's not going to be you. Jameson Crowder is still on the COVID IR list. So Keelan Cole could be a sneaky play, a guy to watch going forward.
100% agree.
And now, Tera, you got Seattle, Indianapolis.
Yeah, so again, on the Seattle end, a lot of offensive power. I'm very high on everyone except for Lockett, but even then obviously he's someone that you want in on your lineup. So absolutely, Wilson, DK, Lockett, Chris Carson again is someone who is one of my favorite running backs. He, when healthy, will flirt with the back end of RB1. And then, we've got, obviously, I know a lot of people are a little bit skeptical in terms of the volume that Jonathan Taylor is going to get, but he's a definite start. Unfortunately, I would be sitting Wentz for the most part. Maybe in QB2, but it's a little bit shaky. The only upside is that they are playing the Seattle defense, which is a little bit different than the Seattle defense that we all have known and loved over the years. But where things get interesting is when you head over to Indianapolis in terms of the pass catchers. With T.Y. Hilton going down, obviously we've got Michael Pittman, who is going to, he's stumbled upon he was kind of flirting with it before when even T.Y. was there with that wide receiver 1 role in the Indianapolis Colts offense. But, where this probably affects people more is Zach Pascal and Paris Campbell. Who are you going to take the gamble on? Zach Pascal is probably the one who is the more stable person that's going to see a little bit more targets. He's going to have a little bit more stable floor as the wide receiver 2 in that offense. But Paris Campbell, when he's healthy, he is the most, he's the most athletic and dynamic player on that side of the ball. So, you got to take a chance on him in terms of if you're in a deep league, you should be adding him. He's got a chance if he's healthy to really make a difference on the field and be that really deep threat that Carson Wentz can depend on. Then someone else to look at on the Seattle side that I didn't mention previously, Gerald Everett. The news coming out about him has been very positive. It seems like, in the past, Seattle's kind of faded the tight end position, and they really want to change that. New offensive coordinator, a little bit new philosophy there, and the connection with Gerald Everett, it sounds like it might be a good play for him. So if you got him, great for you. If not, he's probably one of the first tight ends off the waiver wire right now, so go take a look at him.
Well, and I love that Gerald Everett here. I'm just going to chime in here. Probably I'll chime in on everyone here because that's kind of what I do. But you look, they really didn't keep any wide receivers. DK's there, Tyler Lockett's there, Dwayne Eskridge's a rookie, and the other 2 receivers they kept are Penny Hart and Freddie Swain. Like, there's going to be pass opportunities there. And then with Indianapolis, one of the guys I've been watching there as well is my boy there, Michael Strachan. I think he's a big guy there. With T.Y. Hilton, there could be an opportunity, but he's definitely a guy to watch on the waiver wire. He's probably not on many of your rosters right now. I want to backtrack to the Jets game because when we get comments in here, questions in here, we want to try and get these in. So, Calvin, which Jets running backs do you all like?
I am not starting any in week 1 at all. I like Ty Johnson the best. I like Michael Carter the best in Dynasty. Ty Johnson, I like the best in redraft right now. Dynasty, Michael Carter. Let's see how things go.
I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time. I agree with you. I'm not starting anyone. It's a full-out running back by committee, and I really need to see how this is going to play out. What kind of role is Tevin Coleman going to have, and how long is Tevin Coleman going to be in the lineup? We don't know that either. So, Major, over to you. You got the bird game here. You got the Eagles. You got the Falcons.
Yeah, this game is going to be the worst game of the week. No, I'm just
Really?
I'm going to have to say that Jalen Hurts is going to have a really good game. Last year, Atlanta gave up the most passing yards in 2020. He has a chance to prove to Philly that he is the quarterback of now and the future. Look for him to have at least 250 passing yards, 2 TDs through the air, 70 yards rushing, and a touchdown. And on the other side of the ball, Calvin Ridley is someone you want to keep an eye on. He showed last year that he is the man. He's an alpha receiver. With Julio there or Julio not there, he's balled out either way. Look for him to have 100 yards and at least 2 touchdowns. Last year, he started off really hot, and I think that's going to happen again. Sorry, guys. My computer is, like, really messing me right now. 2 players to kind of keep eye on, kind of curb the expectations a little bit is Kyle Pitts and Devontae Smith. Like, Kyle Pitts is like the greatest tight end to ever walk the face of earth, but never take a snap. So, and then you got Devonta, who's coming in, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. Neither one of those guys really played that much in the preseason, so give them a little time to get acclimated to the speed of the NFL game because it is a big leap from college to the NFL. So let's not look for them to like set the league on fire day one. And the guy that's a sleeper, that's one of my sleepers is Wayne Galman. I really like him a lot. When he had the opportunity to fill in for
Mike Davis.
Was it Mike Davis? I thought he filled in
for Saquon.
Barkley.
For Saquon.
Yeah, when he filled in for Saquon, he actually had a really good season. And then we went to San Francisco, and he actually balled out in the preseason, but that's a crowded backfield there, so they had to let him go. And I think he landed in the best spot for him because I'm not big on Mike Davis and Cordero Patterson as your running backs. So look for him to carve out a nice role for himself in that offense.
I like that. I agree with that 100%. I think Wayne Gallman had about a 4.7 yards per carry there when he filled in for Saquon Barkley last year with the Giants. And then to your point there with San Francisco, I think the thing that hurt him from making that squad was his inability to play special teams, where you got Elijah Mitchell could play special teams. They're using him there. I think that was the difference between him making that squad and not making that squad. And I do believe that Mike Davis is that one player who's got more pressure on him than anyone else because now he's got someone back there to kind of give him a little bit of nipping at his heels every touches. I think we're going to see that kind of play out this week more than anything. Calvin, you got one of my favorite games of the week. You got the Los Angeles Chargers traveling from the West out to the East to the Washington Football Club. What do you got for this matchup?
Well, let's start on the Washington side because I think it's a little bit easier on that side. Chargers don't have a bad defense, but they have a defense that is not the best in the league, which we'll talk about in just a second. Ryan Fitzpatrick getting together with Ron Rivera. I've been waiting all offseason to see how this is going to work out, and I can't wait to see Fitzmagic and Riverboat Ron. This is going to be exciting, and who's he going to have his best connection with? Obviously, it's going to be Terry McLaurin, but after that, Logan Thomas, make sure you're firing him up. You drafted him probably as a starting tight end. Make sure you keep him in there. He's going to have a really good game in this one. After that, obviously Antonio Gibson. But after that in the passing game, I don't think you're starting anybody. Curtis Samuel being hurt right now, like you don't want to risk that. Hamstring injuries can pop back up. Don't put him in your lineup. Like if Diami Brown gets enough snaps, like we're gonna get really excited. That might be somebody you're looking at. Make sure he's not on the waiver wire of your league right now. On the other side, it's so much harder because the Chargers have a much tougher matchup against what I think is the best defense in the NFL. Their only weakness last year was covering tight ends. So and running backs out of the backfield. So all they did was go out and get the best coverage linebacker, fastest in the college football last year in, I don't know, are we saying Jamin Davis? Jamin Davis.
We don't fact check here, you know that. Just call him Jamin Davis because he's going to be jamming.
Yeah, no disrespect. It sounds more fun, so we'll call him Jamin Davis. Like I love what he adds because he actually did a pretty decent job against Kyle Pitts when he got to cover him, so he's pretty good. Jared Cook is a veteran, but I don't expect him to be able to run away from him. You're still probably not in a situation where you can not start Herbert, especially in super flex. You got to get him in there. There is another guy. If you happen to have Jalen Hurts, I'm playing him over Justin Herbert. If you have like some of the maybe a Jimmy Garoppolo against Detroit, we'll talk about him later. But Justin Herbert's one of those that I think you have to just trust. Keenan Allen, you're trusting. Don't mess around with Austin Eckler. Hamstring injury, like I said, nobody in the backfield besides him is worth even rostering, in my opinion, at this point. Maybe Justin Jackson, but none of them are going to be super valuable. Certainly not in this matchup. Don't expect a lot of points on Chargers side, but you probably have to start your studs.
Unless Latavius Murray signs there, then you can trust him as a backup to Eckler.
He knows the offense. His connection with Lombardi. He already knows it.
Yeah, like I said, it's an interesting one, but he also we could go on the whole Latavius Murray. He's been like connected to every team in the last few weeks here. Calvin mentioned this a few shows back when we did the mock draft that Murray's days were numbered. At least this way makes me feel better that it was probably because he didn't take a pay cut. So I give myself a little bit of credit on that one. But you know what? We're looking at some things here, and this Chargers game is going to be fun. We talk about that pressure, though, that pressure coming off the edges from Chase Young, Montez Sweat. These guys make a huge, huge difference no matter how you look at it. The only thing that's missing in this game, you've got Riverboat Ron, you got Ryan Fitzpatrick. If Kenny Rogers shows up, then we've got ourselves a show. A little gambler reference? No, Major? You got nothing for me? Not even a smile? Come on, man.
Sorry, dude.
So if you haven't figured out, I've been talking a lot when it's not my turn because the first two games I got were the Jets and Panthers, and now I'm heading out to Houston to talk Jaguars and Texans. Okay, but you know what? You look at these games and you're like, oh man, that's a horrible game. It actually has some good fantasy implications coming down to it. And for me, I'm looking at James Robinson off the get-go. Start your studs. I consider James Robinson one of my studs. You look at what he's going to be able to do here, and the Texans allowed the second most points per game to running backs in 2020. You want to know what the number was? 31.8 points per game to combine from the running backs every game they played. James Robinson has top 6 running back potential this week. He is going to go off. I promise you that. QB2, Superflex leagues. You know what? We've got ourselves a fancy new toy there in Jacksonville. Houston's pass defense is not good. They just traded away their best corner to New Orleans there, Brandley Roby. He's off to better places. They've got Visca Chenault. They've got Marvin Jones. They've got DJ Chark. You can feel comfortable starting Trevor Lawrence and be okay with it. I'm telling you right now, he is going to be good. Visca Chenault is going to be a solid wide receiver 2 flex option for you. What I'm looking forward to here is watching to see how that dynamic, again, these trio of receivers, teams with those 3 or more receivers, how they're going to play out. How does Chenault and Jones and Chark, how does that work out? Who's Trevor Lawrence got that early rapport with? With Travis Etienne going down with an injury, I think that's going to open the door for Chenault. I think that makes a bigger difference for Visca more than the other running backs because he, with no tight end to even speak of in Jacksonville, I think he becomes that short pass option for him. And then, you know what? Brandon Cooks, you can put him in this game here right now. You can start him and feel comfortable as a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, because as bad as Houston is defending the pass, Jacksonville is just as bad on the other side. Last year, Cooks, in the 2 games that he played, he had 48 points against the Jaguars in fantasy. That's enough to get me going, you know what? if you're averaging 24 points per game in fantasy against a team, you're going to start that guy. Jags basically gave up 41 points per game to wide receivers all of last year combined throughout the whole season. So, yeah, you're going to start Brandon Cooks. And the guy I'm secretly stashing, I'm getting him in my lineup. I'm wanting to see how he does. Nico Collins. Thank you, Jim Coventry. You spoke truth into reality in this matchup. But really, Chris Conley, Anthony Miller, really? Come on now. You got an alpha dog. You got a big man on the outside. You're going to get him the ball. You're going to find a way to get him involved. And just to kind of cherry pick a little bit here off of Calvin, I know you're a big proponent of this guy. If you are desperate for a tight end, if there is nothing out there right now and you're banged up, you're like Tera in the Scott Fish Bowl and you're reaching for tight ends to see what you can go. Jordan Akins can be a sleeper in this week's matchup. I know we're talking about sleepers. We're getting kind of desperate in week 1. But if you think about it, the Jags averaged the 5th most points a game to tight ends last year. So Akins is a guy you could probably slide in there if you're desperate enough to do so. I'm not going to give Tera enough time to rebuttal on this, but she's got the next game here. Minnesota, Cincinnati.
Yeah, for every sad offensive game I've got offensive power galore. So, it's another one. I mean, Thielen, Cook, Jefferson. You could even, if you're, teetering on the edge in QB1, you could even look at Kirk Cousins potentially, because Cincinnati's defense is bad. So Kirk Cousins is one of those guys that will bounce off and on waivers in one QB. He'll be the first man you look at and the first man you drop. So, this could be one of those weeks for him. Then on the other end, you've obviously got Higgins and Chase. I know we're being a little careful with Chase, tempering expectations, but if you've got him, don't leave him out your lineup. If you got him, you drafted him to be in your lineup. So don't fool around with that. Joe Mixon is another one, obviously, that is someone that can be a potential RB1. And then we've got Burrow again. He's someone that's kind of teetering as well. We expected him to be someone that you could depend on as a QB1. If you have other options to go with there, you might want to hold off and kind of check out and see how he responds. Minnesota's defense isn't fantastic, but it's not a complete wasteland. So, just keep that in mind. And again, I am our resident sad tight end person who punts at tight end and then goes and tries to scoop up and find the tight end that you need to. But in my defense, I mean, I found Logan Thomas last year. So you know what? You just got to wait and you got to find them. Okay. So a guy that you might want to wait and kind of look around on is Tyler Conklin. Obviously sad, very sad that Irv Smith went down, especially since where I invested in him was a ton of best ball and I can't do anything about that. But Tyler Conklin was already getting some buzz from the coaching staff previously during the offseason as someone who they wanted to get involved more. So he was already going to be on the field. Minnesota runs a lot of 2 tight end sets, and they essentially don't really go with a third receiver option beyond Jefferson and Thielen. So someone is still going to play a little bit of a role within that offense from a tight end perspective. I know they brought in Chris Herndon, but it's not like he's, maybe he's in that escape and do better thing. We can wait and see. I don't have a lot of high hopes on it, but keep your eye on Conklin as somebody who they already pegged as someone athletic enough to contribute to the offense.
I think with Chris Herndon, he is what he is by this point. We've seen it already. And you heard it from Tera. Ty Conklin is the next Logan Thomas. So mark that down. Put that down. It's a guarantee right now. For me, it's watching the Cincinnati offensive line. If this offensive line can give any kind of time for Joe Burrow, this offense can be dangerous. And that all starts with my boy, Tyler Boyd, in my opinion. I love Tyler Boyd. I got him rostered just about everywhere. But this is a fun offense. It's a really fun offense there. I know Calvin, he did a piece on them about how many plays these guys get off, of how quick they are to the ball. They are fun to watch. Mm-hmm. Speaking of teams that are fun to watch, Major, you got the Detroit Lions. They're playing some team from the West Coast.
My San Francisco 49ers, Niner gang, bang, bang. Hey, this is going to be the best game. The 49ers are like my team, dude. Jimmy G is going to ball out week 1 because he hears those footsteps. Anything that he does wrong, he's going to feel it. So we got to get him going early so we can keep it moving. On the other side of the ball, I'm going to go with Hawkinson just because he's like the only player worth having on Detroit at this point. beware of DeAndre Swift, man. I like him. He's going to be pretty good this year, but San Francisco defense is like one of the tops in the whole entire NFL. So you want to make sure you sit him because you're not going to get any points because that D line is amazing. A player on a sleeper is going to be Trey Sermon. That's like my guy right there. He's the most talented running back in San Francisco. Mustard is a really good running back, runs hard, but at the end of the day, talent always wins out. And I think Trey will kind of flash a little bit here and there, the first few games, and then he will take over that position and be the leader in that backfield.
Well, Major, I'm happy to announce that every year a team goes from worst to first in their division, and one of these two teams has an opportunity to do so. So congratulations, San Francisco. There's an opportunity to go from worst to first in your division. Speaking of this, I mentioned Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson getting a little bit of a revenge game. This could be considered a bit of a revenge game as well. They're one missed call, maybe a helmet-to-helmet away from maybe the Browns representing the AFC West in the Super Bowl. Calvin, you've got the Browns, you've got the Chiefs, you got some offense going on in this game.
How much of a baller move would it be for the Kansas City Chiefs to send Chad Henne out to start the game? Would that just be awesome? No, honestly, I do think this is going to be I think this is going to be revenge right here, and I think it's going to ultimately be sweet revenge if you're Cleveland. I think Cleveland walks away with the win. I think they have a better roster. On KC, let's start with them as far as fantasy. You're starting Mahomes, you're starting Hill, you're starting Kelsey. You're probably starting Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but let's just pay attention. If there's any restrictions at all in practice and you can find somebody else to put in, then I would do so. It worries me a little bit with that ankle injury, it being inside. After talking to Jeff, he may be a little nervous on that one, but let's just see. Let's see.
Jeff has a bad habit of that, doesn't he? Whenever Jeff opens his mouth, he makes you nervous about what your decision making process is when it comes to an injury.
And you can watch Sunday morning. I'll be with him. He'll be giving his analysis Sunday morning once we on the DLF YouTube channel. So you can watch that. Outside of that, let's go to the Cleveland side because this could be a lot of fun. At the end of the season last year, you started to see Kevin Stefanski open the playbook up a little bit for Baker Mayfield. So when you've got some of these weapons out here, I mean, look, Austin Hooper, we were a little bit disappointed in going late in drafts, but he could have a great game in this game. When you look at, whoa, there we go. Oh, okay. He can have a great game. I think that's one of the things Kansas City had struggled to do. We'll see if they're able to do that now with one of their linebackers out. We'll see. You're starting Odell, you're starting Baker, you're starting Jarvis, and you're definitely starting Mr. 2K, Nick Chubb. I'm excited about that. Get Hunt in there too. Going to be a lot of point score because this is the game that I mentioned earlier as the highest point total. You want a piece of this. Get all your players in this game in.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun for fans. It's going to be fun for fantasy analysts. This is going to be fun for fantasy football players in general. You know what? You got a little bit of everything here going on. And you've got it kind of that nice weather, kind of, it's sunny. It's not the cold. It's not the, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, Nick Chubb type game. And this is a game I think that if they can keep it close, the Browns can have a little bit of a lead. And they just grind the clock out with Nick Chubb, whose average is like 5.23 yards for his career. And then how much more effective he is in the fourth quarter. Oh man, I'm looking forward to that. That's one of those games I'll be turning on to for sure. And here again, maybe not as offensive as your game. I've got the New England Patriots hosting the Miami Dolphins this week. And there is, for me, not a whole lot of surefire starts here. A lot of guys I'm considering here. I think Myles Gaskins, he's firmly in that RB2 range based on the fact that the Patriots have kind of at home given up 24 points per game to the running back position. So that's someone I'm okay starting. He's good RB2. He's good in that flex position. There's a lot of guys I'd rather have ahead of him, but I think he could be in that 18 to 22 range when it's all said and done for this week. Mike Gesicki. I'm going to talk about the wide receivers here, how I don't like them so much in this matchup. That doesn't mean I don't like the tight ends. I think when you've got guys like Jalen Waddle who can spread teams out, and when you got Devonte Parker doing what he can normally do. Remember, Will Fuller's not here for this game, so they lose a little bit of speed. But you've got Mike Gesicki who's going to stretch the seams. He's finally healthy, so get him in your lineup. And Jonas Smith, I'm interested to see what he does here with Mac Jones, builds that rapport with him. And last year, Tennessee, Jones was effective in the red zone. He did a lot of things in the red zone. He was used, I think, 97% of the snaps in the red zone. So I would imagine that New England's going to use him in a very similar way. And as we move on here, I'm looking, and you know what? I don't know if he's a sleeper anymore. If you're following me on the timeline, he's not a sleeper. It's always Jacoby Myers time. And I think you get a pump him in your lineup. I think you're going to get a good wide receiver 2 right off the get-go based on his 13.1 fantasy points per game from weeks 8 to 17. He's got the rapport going with Mac Jones. There's no reason for me not to believe him. That slot position has given some production for Patriots receivers in the past, going back all the way to 2002, give or take. And I'm not going to say he's going to be Edelman. I'm not going to say that he's Wes Welker, or I'll say he's better than Danny Amendola, no matter how we want to look at it. Yes, Hunter Henry, he's going to factor in, but I'm not worried about Hunter Henry. He's maybe going to be there for week 1 already. We're already talking about Hunter Henry, maybe not in the lineup. You're going to start him. And then what I'm watching here is, I know Major, I don't know if he's quite there yet. I can't see him on the screen. He's kind of blank there right now. But Ramondre Stevenson's an interesting one here. I want to see how his usage comes in here. We know when Sony Michel was traded and Cam Newton was cut, that someone would benefit from all this. I think it's Ramondre Stevenson who's the big-time winner, because I think Damian Harris is still going to have his role. I think James White's going to have a very specific role in PPR, so a guy definitely you're watching here. But I think Ramondre Stevenson's going to be that hammer. You watched what he did in the preseason. His ability to break tackles was second to none, and that's a guy for me I'm probably looking at to see where I can get him in my line, especially in deep leagues. Not putting him in yet, but a guy I'm definitely keeping an eye on. Now, Tera, I couldn't decide who to give this to, so I'm going to kind of let you two kind of battle it out a little bit of a he said, she said type thing, a little bit of Packers, a little bit of Saints, a little bit of Jacksonville, all thrown in one. Tera, over to you.
Yeah, before I move on to this, I did want to go back to New England. I'm a little surprised because based off your tweets, I felt pretty sure that you were telling me that Jacoby Myers was wide receiver 1. So am I confused on that? Okay, I just want to make sure.
As a wide receiver 1. I'm sure that won't blow up on me on Twitter at all.
So that, and then plus, every time you guys say Ramondre Stevenson, who I do like, it hurts my heart because I'm such a Damian Harris truther. You guys know that I've been like.
Well, as an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, I can see how that could bother you.
Very funny. Oh, but no, for real, he is. Damian Harris is RB2 on pretty much half my rosters, and I'm very confident in his abilities. I like Ramondre, but Damian Harris, come on, guys.
The Patriots will use rookie running backs. Don't worry.
Exactly. We gotta stay on course. It's going perfectly. Stay on course. Right. But I'm moving on to this wonderful matchup that is apparently happening in Jacksonville. That some. We're not going to say which particular Packers office personnel might have had some weird little words about it, but it's okay. We're in Florida and we're happy. Okay. So we're going to make the best of it. But, it's the Packers. Come on. Rodgers, Adams, Jones. You're starting them all and you're thriving off of them. The one thing that I will say is that, stay away from our wide receiver 2 position. There is zero clarity in that. You really just need to see how it shakes out because it could go a whole variety of directions, including no particular direction at all. So, yeah, there's that. Obviously there's Tanyan as well, who is someone who, they do want to get a little bit more volume too. He's still probably going to be someone who's very touchdown dependent, but if you've got him, put him in your lineup as your tight end and cross your fingers. And then AJ Dillon will be interesting to watch and see what his role is, because we've heard a lot about how he could be potentially taking some of those goal line carries away from Aaron Jones. Fear not on the end for Aaron Jones, though, because he's going to be a PPR god, so don't worry about that. It'll just be interesting to see how usable Dillon is. And I'll let Cal talk about New Orleans, even though there's a couple guys on there that I absolutely love. So I'll just co-sign you on whoever you're mentioning.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at one of these defenses as being, a little bit more suspect, it's probably on the Green Bay side. And so I think that helps with some of the Saints position players. And I think even though the wide receiver group is not as strong as a New Orleans Saints fan would like it to be, I do think there's some opportunity and room for Callaway. As much as he was targeted over the preseason, there's no reason to go away from him right now or expect anything different. I do think that you could fire up Jameis Winston. Taysom Hill's going to play. I think Winston's ceiling is capped because I do think if they get down to the red zone, you could see Taysom Hill take some of those carries and have some red zone rushing touchdowns. And that limits what you would hope for from Jameis Winston, in my opinion. Alvin Kamara, stud, you're starting him. Other than that, I think I want to play wait and see on the rest of them.
Yeah, I think this could be one of those. We're not talking about it in the same breath as Cleveland and Kansas City or the matchup that you had there a little bit earlier with Arizona and Tennessee. This could turn into an old-fashioned shootout. You know what I'm saying? We've got Jameis Winston who's going to throw up that YOLO ball. It's going to happen. You know what's going to happen, and there's always a big play potential with them. This is probably my favorite game just based on the Saints basically going, yeah, you know what? We're not going to play in Tampa because why would we want to have a road game in a road stadium against a division rival? That's just silly. Where half the fans are going to boo us anyway. We're not going to go to Miami and give the Packers a nice little vacation day, have those fans down in South Beach. We're going to go to Duval County. So the least of the and the most expensive to travel to, apparently. So depending on how you focus on it. But I love this game. This is going to be one of those fun games to sit back and watch. I think it's going to be explosive. I think Aaron Rodgers, Devonte Adams, you guys mentioned these names. Fire them all up, except Marquez. Well, you know what? You would fire up Scantling. You know what? I think Valdez-Scantling could have some weird value because it is week one. We're going to talk about one of those other guys who has week one potential every year. Valdez-Scantling always has one or two surprise games that come out of nowhere. This could be one. I wouldn't bank on it, but I'm just throwing that name out there.
Saints defense is good. But look, if the Saints can win this game, I just want Brian Gunhorst, whatever his name is. I want a camera on him, like following him. I just want to watch his reaction, and I would like a meltdown if possible.
I kind of want to. I want to put a camera. You know what? Let's live stream this game on the ViperCast here. Let's get on the Viper channel. We'll get a camera in on Tera. We'll get a camera in on Calvin. I'll do the play-by-play here, and I'll poke the bear and talk about how good Alabama is the whole time. But that has nothing to do with the game.
There might be a throne chair.
It might be.
And it wouldn't come from me.
And who knows? Make sure there's no suitcases within reach either. So, speaking of poking the bear, is Aaron Donald going to poke the Chicago Bears? Calvin, over to you.
So I think that's an interesting matchup because it almost feels like Andy Dalton's getting sacrificed to Aaron Donald in this game, doesn't it? Justin Fields, as much as he looked like the absolute superior quarterback, he's not going to get the start. Probably comes down to Nagy probably told Dalton, hey, you come here, you're going to be able to start. And he gets the Rams. Congratulations, Andy Dalton. You get to do that.
On prime time.
Allen Robinson. Wait, what?
On prime time.
Yeah, on prime time. Allen Robinson, listen, I'm not saying sit Allen Robinson, but if anybody can blank him, it's Jalen Ramsey. I get Allen Robinson's really good, but Jalen Ramsey is really, really good too. And how much time is Andy Dalton going to have? How many passes is he going to get off? How many is he going to complete? Look, maybe they surprise us and all that. I'm not saying you have a better option, but wide receivers deep. And if you can make room for somebody else, I might be doing that. David Montgomery, I'm just not starting him if I don't have to. Like there's nobody on this Chicago team that I am desperate to make sure that I get in my lineup because they're facing the Rams. I'm just not excited to do it. Not even Mooney, none of them. On the Rams side, I can't wait to see Sean McVay and Matt Stafford. Like the pettiness back and forth from Sean McVay and Jared Goff over the offseason was so much fun to watch. And Sean McVay is going to be motivated to prove that the reason why his offense wasn't good last year was because of Jared Goff. And now he's got, well, his quotes, a real quarterback that he can put under center. He's going to want to show off what he can do. So I expect a lot of things out of this Rams offense, even though I don't think the Bears defense is going to be that bad. McVay is good. He wants to prove he's a genius. Matt Stafford wants to prove it. I think you can fire up all of those options.
For me, this could be that survivor game. You know what I mean? When you're looking for that one team that's guaranteed to win, I think it could be the Rams in this because it's prime time Andy Dalton, and I ain't ever going down that road again. We know what happened last time I bet on Andy Dalton, and it's just not happening. And we have learned. I'm going to get ready to segue here. I'm trying to buy time for Major to get back on the show. He's having some computer difficulties there. There's 2 wide receivers in the National Football League that Jalen Ramsey cannot cover. One is Darnell Mooney, and I've got film to prove it. Look at it's legit. It is legit. And the other wide receiver that he cannot cover resides in the state of Nevada, and that's Hunter Renfrow. We saw that in the training camp battles. There's video on that as well. Did Jalen Ramsey just not care? Probably, but that's not the point. It was Hunter Renfrow dominated him in the team when the 2 teams came together. So I'm reaching at straws here because you know what? This is a fun game for me because it's Vegas. It's their home opener. It's their first time with fans in the building. It is going to be electric. Vegas fans, are you kidding me? If you've ever been to a Golden Knights game, you understand that this is a circus out there. The atmosphere is second to none. If they can bring what they had in Oakland and what they have with the hockey franchise together into one, like this is going to be a big time. It's going to be like New Orleans type of thing. It's going to be like a Halloween party every single week with that energy. That said, it's going to be scary for the Raiders going up against Gus Edwards. Let's call it the way it is. We're talking about a guy 3 straight years where he's averaging over 5 yards per carry. He's going to get at least 20 carries, guaranteed. That translates to an easy 100 yards. Bank that, probably at least a touchdown, probably 2. So you're going to definitely get Gus Edwards in there. You're going to get Lamar Jackson in there. You're going to put Mark Andrews in there. You're probably not putting any wide receivers in there. I'll get to the other one here in a second. You know exactly where I'm going. I'm just trying to keep that taste out of my mouth for a few more minutes while I'm running on here. As far as the Raiders go, Josh Jacobs, I'm not starting him. If I have to put him in a flex position, maybe. I'm not trusting him as an RB1. I'm not trusting him as an RB2. I think he's going to fall in that 26 range for running backs based on the fact that the Ravens, they only allowed 88 yards rushing per game last year. They are a very stingy defense. Now, when we're looking at this right now, it's hard to get. We don't have those fantasy trends to base off. Things have changed. Training camp changes, teams, new coordinators, things change. So the fantasy trends that we're looking at from last year don't necessarily translate into this year. But what we're looking at is predictive analysis. It's probably the best way to put it. We're trying to put a little bit of prediction, a little bit of analysis between the two together and see what we can come up with. And that's not good for Josh Jacobs either way you cut it. Now, I'm not starting Marquise Brown because he's in the same club that Sammy's in. It's the never Sammy Watkins club, except week 1.
But yes to Hunter Renfrow.
Oh, Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow is good. He's not playing Jalen Ramsey, so I can't put Hunter Renfrow in this because if Ramsey was covering him, then I'd definitely put him as an RB wide receiver 1. But Sammy Watkins, here's your 1 week to use him. You get the Raiders, who are a revamped defense. Things have changed all over the place in Vegas on that defense. For the better, I don't know. But we'll see how that looks because I think this, when it comes down to it, I think the Raiders win this game somehow, some way. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game that people are giving credit to because when we look over to some of these sleepers, the Raiders were still a top 12 offense last year, no matter how you look at it. Whether you're looking at points, whether you're looking at yardage, they were able to produce. But what I'm watching for in this game closely is who's going to lead the wide receivers, not the tight ends, because Darren Waller, you're starting. He's going to be that guy no matter what. I didn't even mention his name earlier because you don't need me to mention his name to know to start. Start your studs. But last year, Hunter Renfrow led all Raiders wide receivers in red zone targets. Okay? Something to keep an eye on. So does Henry Ruggs take this next jump that we hope he does? Because he's got a lot to prove as the number 1 wide receiver drafted last year, who has failed to meet any kind of expectations so far in his career. Or is Brian Edwards going to be that guy that everyone's kind of touting here, especially on Twitter? Is he going to be able to ascend to that wide receiver 1 role with the Raiders? I don't know how any of this is going to translate. So this is all stuff I'm watching. I'm staying away from this. And then maybe not necessarily this game because we know Tyson Hill is going to be that guy, or Tyson Williams. I don't know where Hill came from. Tyson Williams is going to be that guy to be that handcuff. But he's big. He's a big back too. He likes to bang it in there. He's a lot like Gus Edwards. So how does the additions of Trenton Cannon and Le'Veon Bell affect the passing game for the Ravens out of the backfield? That's something I want to see develop as the season goes on. It'll probably take 2-3 weeks when Bell gets in. Definitely, you're not picking him up on the waivers yet. You're not, unless you've got all kinds of room on the bench. Leave Bell where he belongs on the waivers. We obviously don't have Major back yet, but we've still got one more game that we need to get to here. That's Denver at the New York Giants. Some of the comments here made for Major here. He wants you to start. No, it's okay. You got Cortland Sutton. You're probably going to put him as a wide receiver 2 to a flex kind of thing, much the same as Jerry Jeudy, especially with Teddy Bridgewater being there. We know Teddy's going to feed him a lot of balls, a lot of targets going to be there. Judy's going to be a PPR machine. Last year, Drew Lock was inaccurate. I think don't fact check me here, but I believe he had like 100 and some targets and only like 60 receptions based on a lot of inaccurate passes. I think 30 of those balls were deemed uncatchable at the time. Teddy's not going to throw very many uncatchable balls. If anything, he might throw a few short, but he's not going to throw them 15 feet over your head. We've seen what Teddy did last year. He supported 3 wide receiver 2s in Carolina. He's got an option to do that here in Denver with, if you include Noah Fant in that. I know Major likes KJ Hamler as well in this group, but you're probably not starting KJ Hamler here. So just stick with Sutton, stick with that other guy there, Jerry Jeudy. On the New York side, you're probably going to start Saquon Barkley, but temper those expectations, right? We know we're going to start him. We've talked about him in depth here a little bit. You know what? If you were lucky enough to go and bang 2 running backs back-to-back at the back end and Saquon Barkley being one of them, then you're going to feel much better having Barkley as your RB2 than you would be as your RB1. So you're going to start him. Just temper those expectations. Probably it's going to take him 2 to 3 weeks to get himself going. Once he gets himself going, he's going to be money for you. Mm-hmm. And then the guy obviously we're looking at is Devonte Parker here as a sleeper, because if Barkley does have any kind of letdown, if he's not quite 100%, Devontae Booker's that guy who's going to step up and assume that role there. Last year against Denver when he was playing with the Raiders, he had, I think, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he can produce against Denver. We'll see what Barkley looks like, and that's kind of where we're going. Now, as we move on here, it is what it is. Plays of the week type of things that we're looking for. I'm going to start with Major here. He's going with Ramondre Stevenson. It is what it is. If he can get into the running game, he's that short yardage guy. We mentioned that a little bit earlier. There's that opportunity for him. Tara, what's your it is what it is plays of the week?
Yeah, see, I'm not 100% sure it is what it is, but but I'm going to go with the New England Titans. It's kind of an odd situation where we know that New England can be successful with 2 tight ends. We know that Bill Belichick has done it well in the past, but we don't know entirely what these guys are going to produce because of health concerns. And it looks like they're both going to be ready to go. They both had off-season, weird, like preseason kind of injuries, kind of not really weird things that kept them out for a little bit. And so we haven't actually seen the 2 of them on the field at the same time together. But but unfortunately, they are, some of the more prominent pass catchers in the offense because, New England, despite the greatness of Jacoby Myers, doesn't have a great true wide receiver 1. So they're going to be heavily leaning on these tight ends. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out, how Bill utilizes them, and what production they can get when they're on the field at the same time.
And then I'm going to kind of touch base here. I'll go here just so I can catch my breath between takes here. Sammy Watkins, it is what it is. It's week 1. I don't need to go into depth on this. It's week 1. It's Sammy Watkins. End of discussion. Calvin, give us stacks upon stacks here. What it is for you.
What is it is what it is. This is just like YOLO. Like, look, you got a spot in your lineup. You're not 100% sure who to fill it with. You had some injuries, something like that. Somebody you're not super fond of putting in your lineup, but you want to make sure you got somebody in there that's got some upside. So over to San Francisco, they're playing Detroit. Jimmy and Debo, if you can put that stack in your lineup, I think that's going to be a great stack. Even the running backs right there, Sermon, Mostert, like you want 49ers players in this game. Another game that could be sneaky, you talked about it, Matt, but Tyrod and Brandon Cooks, man, that could be a great little stack right there between them. You could get garbage time, or they could be the reason why Houston ends up winning this game. You saw what Jameis Winston and Marquez Callaway did against that Jacksonville defense. You could see the same thing here. Jordan Akins I also like in that game. Phillip Lindsay even could be sneaky in this matchup as well if you want to get him in your lineup. Just some other names real quick. Javonte Williams, don't leave him on your bench. Put him in your lineup. You want him. You want to start him. Quez Watkins could be interesting. Philadelphia against Atlanta. Atlanta has not been very good against the pass, obviously. Devonta Smith. Rondale Moore, he's going to get a lot of touches, way more than I think people think. I wouldn't be surprised if he has the most touches of any rookie wide receiver in week 1. Russell Gage is a good, just make sure, you got to, like I said, you got a spot. It is what it is. You're not excited about starting with Russell Gage, but I think you can start him in this one. And then tight end, Dan Arnold, Jordan Akins, those are decent flyers at the end of your lineup.
And we're going to conclude here now with bold predictions. So every week we are going to put out a bold prediction for you that we're going to revisit the following week. So what we say here today is going to kick off the show next week, and we'll probably make a little fun of each other along the way. The first bold prediction, courtesy of one Major Caldwell. Jameis Winston will outperform Aaron Rodgers in a New Orleans Saints victory.
Woo! I love it.
Now,
Major's my best friend.
That will be splitting the Viper pit here in half between Calvin and Tera. But there you have it. That is the bold prediction. We'll revisit this. We'll talk about where he went right, where he went wrong on this prediction a little bit later. Calvin, what is your bold prediction for week 1?
Jalen Hurts, QB1, going against Atlanta. I think this is he is going to have a monster Sunday.
You know what? I'm glad to hear that. I've got him, I think, at QB7 right now, just because I think both these quarterbacks can light it up, because I don't think either one of these defenses can stop the pass at all. And I'm not sold on either team being able to run the ball, because I'm not a big Miles Sanders guy. I'm not a big Mike Davis guy. I think the ball's going to be thrown in. And I think when you put in that Konami code there with Jalen Hurts, I think he could throw for 250 to 300 yards and rush for almost 100 yards and probably 3 total touchdowns one way or the other. So you're going to want to get him in your lineup. I got him in my lineup. There's a conversation I've seen earlier. Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott? You got both of them. Who are you starting, Calvin?
Hurts.
I agree. I'd put Hurts in too, because that Tampa Bay defense, in my opinion, is no joke. We've seen what they did with Mahomes. So I'm loving what Jalen Hurts is all about.
I think Dak is going to get his, but I just love Jalen Hurts this week.
And then while we're waiting for Tera here, she's probably just putting a little bit of an Alabama t-shirt on right now and getting some Roll Tide paint rolling. I'm going to go with my bold prediction. Sam Darnold, Robbie Anderson end up being a top 3 wide receiver quarterback stack in week 1. I think we're going to see Robbie Anderson go off for 2 touchdowns. I think Sam Darnold's going to throw for 300 yards against this Jets. I think Carolina is going to get going and get this offense going. I think Zach Wilson's going to get in on the garbage time. So it's going to keep Sam Darnold and the Panthers passing to keep themselves going. And you know what? This is by far the most talented crew that Sam Darnold's ever dealt with. He's got 3, in my opinion, top 24 type receivers. Terrace Marshall could sneak in there based on Chase Claypool type numbers that we've seen last year. And then you've got Christian McCaffrey. Like, if you got Christian McCaffrey, you got an opportunity to put up huge numbers every single week. So for me, that's my top 3 stack potential between Sam Darnold, Robbie Anderson. DFS is an option. And another one there, I'm going to throw one more because I can. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick and Diami Brown is a cheap stack that you can get at that could be very productive for you in week 1. We'll see how that pans out. Tera, what's the little guy got to say? What's his bold prediction for week 1?
So he wasn't aware that we had to be accountable for our predictions. So these rules have potentially changed things. No, but it wouldn't be a ViperCast if I didn't have at least one kid pop up. But my bold prediction is that I think Chase Edmonds we talked about him earlier. I think he's actually going to be pretty usable this week. The game is going to be extremely high-powered offense, and in that kind of game set, that bodes very well in favor of Edmonds versus Connor. So being the pass catching back, I think he's going to have a lot of connections with Kyler Murray, and he's actually going to be usable. He's someone that I think you could put into a flex role and might end up having RB2 production. So look out for that.
You know what? I love that accountability for your predictions. I think we can work with that here. You know, when we revisit this every week. Now, I know I've been accountable when I've missed on my predictions. Kelvin can attest. It ends up with me eating dog food or a Big Mac smoothie or something terrible, maybe we can incorporate something into that just to, teach the little one responsibility and accountability maybe for the future. Just throwing it out there. But you know what? This is the ViperCast. Can
we just acknowledge how much of a rock star Tera is right now? Literally giving football takes and putting her kid to sleep. I don't care what any closed-minded idiot says. You've got a place in this industry, Tera.
And you know what, Tera? We want to give a special shout out to your dad. We want to give a special shout out to your granddad. And I would like to flip the bird to someone else, but I'm not going to go there. I'm going to take the higher route there. I think you did a fantastic job addressing that a little bit earlier today. And you know what? We're sitting here, Calvin and myself. There's the two of us, and I can honestly say we are probably the lesser of the intelligence when it comes to football analysis on this show.
I appreciate the probably in there, but you didn't need it.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to make us feel a little bit better.
You guys are too nice.
But with that all said, you know what? We just wrapped up. This is the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast, and you know what? I'm going to close the show just like this right now. I'm going to pull up the branding so I can make sure I cue us out of here in time. But I just want to say, I'm going to look right at the camera. This is my camera straight. I want to go, thanks for listening. You look great, by the way. Oh, man, I missed my own cue. I pushed the wrong button. Yeah, you know what? Thanks for listening.